Action! What's up, guys? George Kittle here. Hidden Pearls podcast. This week we have the one, the only, the Rich Eisen on our podcast. Tune in, learn a lot about Rich. He's fantastic. Tons of stories, tons of things you're going to love to hear. Hop on. Me, Bruce, and Emma take control. Let's go. Bye.
Bam. Damn right. Hey, Bruce Kittle here with Emma Kittle, George Kittle, and the one and only Rich Eisen. This is the Hidden Pearls podcast coming at you before we play Tampa Bay this weekend. And we've got Rich Eisen on to give us all things blue. So we're excited about that. All right. Hey, George Kittle, what's up, man? Where are you at today?
Hey, everybody.
You're at the Niners facility. Where are you?
I'm in our brain training room right now, actually.
Oh, nice.
I know. We have a bunch of nifty toys in here, help you with, there's like little games we play on computers to help you with your cognitive thinking, your vision training, stuff like that, help you breathing training. But it's an empty office today. So I took control over this for my first podcast interview with Rich Eisen.
Attaboy.
I'm here for you, Rich.
Okay. All right, Rich, then before we get started, I know everybody knows you, but I just want to highlight a couple things.
Sure.
We did some intensive research on you, our full staff.
We did.
Diligently. So we got, you were the host of basically all things NFL football and otherwise. First on-air talent added to the NFL Network's roster back in 2003, co-host.
Can confirm.
Of the Emmy-nominated NFL Game Day Morning on NFL Network.
Yes.
Hosts NFL Total Access Kickoff on NFL Network every week prior to Thursday Night Football.
I used to do that.
Used to. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
but
if you're going off of the Wikipedia, once upon a time somebody changed it to say my name was Rich White Mamba Eisen. So
wow.
I wouldn't go off.
It's not. That's not your real name.
I wouldn't go off of that. Here, I'll help you out. I'll help you out.
Go.
So no, I'll help you out. So I was on ESPN Sports Center from 1996 to 2003.
Yep.
Once upon a time, ESPN Sports Center said, look, we don't know if we want you around here anymore. And I'm like, look, if that's the way you feel, I'm happy to go. That's a very short way of putting the fact that NFL Network hired me. The same guy who ran ESPN when I was hired there was running NFL Network at the time to start off. Smart enough to have hired me twice. I've been there since 2003, and pretty much anything that's been NFL Network, I've been the host of it. And the first guy to do a daily show for them, the first guy to host the Super Bowl, to do the draft and the combine, and just so on and so forth. And now I'm in year 19 with them, season 20. And in 2014, this show was born out of a podcast I started in 2011. I've got 3 kids, 2 dogs, 1 wife. And I don't know if you want to, if you're allowed to curse on this show.
We are.
Okay. I'm a 53-year-old with a lot of shit going on, a lot of shit, but it's all positive shit. It's good shit. My alma mater is the University of Michigan. We're 1 win against TCU away from playing for the Natty, just up the road from this studio. I'm jumping out of my freaking skin about that, having done my job since 1996 on the national scale. There's not a lot of sports teams that move the needle for me emotionally. Michigan football doesn't just move the needle for me emotionally. It breaks the needle straight off. I do wonder about my perspective on life and love and family and religion, about how badly I want them to win. So I think that pretty much covers it.
That's perfect. Plus, you authored a book, The Total Access.
Oh, look at you.
And
you're around here somewhere. It's also available for 99 cents in many places where books are sold.
I pulled it up on Audible today, and I listened to the intro. You read it. So you sound great on audio.
Look at you. You got my Audible book. So I'm going to get like a 5-cent check. Thanks
there
to
you. Go. All right.
Hey, I'll go buy it too right now.
Attaboy.
You've been nominated 4 times for the Emmy for outstanding studio host categories. So anyway, well, thank you for being
Actually,
on.
that number is 6.
Oh, shit.
Wow.
No, it's okay. No, the reason why I bring that up is I think I'm 10 shy of Susan Lucci, having lost every last one of them. I think she eventually won one. You know, Costas is no longer a sports host, so it improves my chances every single year of doing that. But I'm going to keep trying, just like the Kittles. I'm going to keep pancaking and smiling. That's what I'm going to keep
going, baby.
You're like John Wayne. John Wayne with the Academy Award. You remember those days?
Absolutely.
All the way through, and then his very last movie, he got But anyway, it was kind of a token tossing because it wasn't his best movie. But anyway, that's another story. Okay. Well, speaking of all things blue, we're going to start there this week because we know that's where your heart is beating right now. And because Niners have Tampa Bay coming in and the Tom Brady blue connection, we just saw a great time. And then with the Natties coming up, like you said. So Big Blue, Big Ten champs. They've won back-to-back Big Ten titles for the first time since 91 and 92. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Their first back-to-back victories over Ohio State since 1999 and 2000.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so before 2021.
You know who beat him in 99?
Who beat who?
You know who was the quarterback of Michigan who beat Ohio State in 1999? You just mentioned his name.
Just got to go with Tom Brady.
That's correct.
His senior year. Okay, there you go. Set it all up. All right, then before that, though, you lost 8 straight to Ohio State. So
we don't need to talk about that.
I know that. Back on course. And it was the first win in Columbus since 2000. So that was kind of a big deal as well. Yeah. So anyway, all right. So thoughts on the college playoffs. So give us your low. You already kind of said it. They play TCU. On the other side of the bracket, we got Georgia and Ohio State. How do you feel about Ohio State getting in after losing in the, that final match?
Oh, yeah. Look, I think the college football playoff committee got it right. I think they did. USC couldn't tackle. I mean, good Lord. I was sitting there watching that game. Not going to lie. I would have loved Michigan's 22-point beatdown of the Ohio State in the horseshoe to have been the last gasp for the Buckeyes, because that's just what, rivalries are all about. You want to put the nail in the coffin and then bury the coffin. But there's no doubt about it that a 1-loss team should make it before a 2-loss team. And Ohio State, based on the way that USC played, there's no question Ohio State's a better team. So but if you're going to back into the college football playoff without even making your conference championship game, if you're going to do that, you shouldn't have the right to play your rival that prevented you from getting the conference championship game right away. So I like the fact that I have no problem with Ohio State making it. And I do kind of like the fact that they made Ohio State earn the right to face Michigan if Michigan's fortunate enough to beat TCU, and Ohio State fortunate enough to beat Georgia. I do kind of dig that they made Ohio State have to earn that right. And I don't know about you guys, but I just love watching Max Duggan and TCU and the way I don't know if you're able to watch it, George, because you might have been practicing, whatever. But that guy has, that sort of heart that you play with and that sort of passion that you play with. I mean, that guy has that coming out of his pores. The way that he poured it all out there, to tie that game. I thought TCU deserved to make it. So I think they got it.
I picked it up. We got in from walkthrough and I started watching. They were down they're down 2 scores. And then I saw the driver, he runs it down there, then runs it into the next play, and then gets the 2-point conversion wide open. Then I was driving home during overtime, but that was wild. And you could tell the team loves him. He's got all the energy. Yeah. He's got all the swagger right now. He's got the confidence. I'm excited. It'll be good. I agree with you too. The fact that they didn't just put Ohio State, Michigan together. Yeah. I thought that wouldn't have been it would have been fun because it's another rivalry game, but you didn't need that. Michigan, that's the way it should have gone.
Yeah, they should earn it. And then if they do play each other, it's for all the marbles. I mean, holy crap.
That would be cool. That would be really cool.
The only thing that comes close to that is, seeing North Carolina and Duke play each other in the Final Four in Coach K's last game. Yeah. That's the only thing that could even remotely touch Michigan playing Ohio State for the entire national championship. I mean, holy crap. I don't even know. I mean, the game's in SoFi Stadium just up the road from the studio here. And
is it really?
It is. Yeah. And so, by the way, USC had an opportunity to maybe, they were so close to being on the road to win it right here. But as you know, like the last LA team that played there for the championship, they took a team from Ohio, which we were doing our best to prevent this time around. But bottom line is, I saw, I got tickets for that game. My 11-year-old son, my 14-year-old son's not that much into sports. My 11-year-old, I've totally converted into a Michigan fan. And so, and a college football fan. I got tickets to that game months ago. And the fact that Michigan could play in this game here in LA, I can't even, I honestly, I think about it and it causes me to not sleep. I get so excited about it. And that's another reason why I'm glad Michigan and Ohio State are not playing each other on New Year's Eve, because, New Year's Eve is a festive occasion that I want to focus on family and love and life and things of that nature, and not get all hyped up for a game that causes me to lose perspective. It really does. Like, I can't, on a Michigan Ohio State day, I can't think straight. So I'm kind of glad that I don't have to worry about that on a New Year's Eve.
All right, let me throw you two questions, and then we'll kind of jump into one other category we got set for you. So, all right, a little bit that Ohio State, they didn't have to play during championship weekend, so now they got a 2-week rest. That kind of bugs me. That's why, I'm looking forward to the expansion, so all the Power Fives get in and all that stuff. So that's a little thing. But I want to know what you think is going to be different this time. So they're back in the national championship playoffs, but what's different? So last year they lost to Georgia 35-11. And then before that, and I know you don't want to say anything, but they've lost 5 straight bowl games before that.
Right.
And I got all the scores and teams here, but we won't do that. So
no, we don't need it. We don't need to focus on the past.
No, I know. But then, and Coach Harbaugh, I got to, it's been a building process, because I don't think the Michigan ship was quite where it had been historically when he took over. They've done a great job recruiting, putting all the pieces back together. When you watch them play, they're back to that pound and ground, but yet with a kind of flair to them that's really exciting. So, but what do you think is going to be different this time about this Michigan team and the way they're approaching this game?
It just feels different this time around. It just really does. Where last year it was a house money situation, and this year they kind of feel like the house, and so Georgia would be a particularly difficult game, as we saw how they toyed with LSU towards the end of that game, and they appear to be just as good as last year. I would say Michigan has a more veteran team this time around, and the ultimate difference for me is the quarterback. JJ McCarthy has more of a skill set that can overcome a deficit. Should they find one against TCU or against Georgia or against Ohio State, if they have to play, the Ohio State again. I don't want to disrespect him. And so I just love the kid. I'm trying to get him on the show and interview him, but my alma mater's kind of putting a little bubble around him, and I also don't want to push it, because I don't want to be the guy that pushes anything with them. But I don't. If you've noticed, JJ McCarthy on his left hand, he's got a smiley face drawn on his left hand every time, and I'm wondering if that is a reminder to him to have fun, and not let the game get
too big.
Exactly. And again, George, that is something you have mastered. You have clearly mastered the, bring your lunch pail and bring your heart and bring your game, but, don't lose your head, don't lose yourself, and be yourself while doing it. I'm wondering if that's what he's doing, because every time I look at him, he's got like this smile on his face, sort of like that, for the lack of a better phrase, everything goes back to the movie Hoosiers for me. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but the kid's strapped. The kid's strapp's got, like, they're all in this intense game, and they're in the prayer huddle, and he holds onto him real tight, and then he's got like this big smile on his face, and he lights it up. Like, that's the way this kid looks like to me, and to me, that's the difference here. It just feels different, as if they can win 2 more.
Well, Georgie, what's the 3 rules of Pee Wee football?
Work hard, give great effort, and have fun.
That's it.
And it's really the same all the way around.
Right? It really works. And I see that from him. And obviously, everybody takes their cue from the quarterback. And so I kind of dig what I'm seeing, and I hope I'm right.
All right.
Now Rich, let's just say Michigan wasn't in the playoffs. Would you think Georgia has the best chance of winning?
Of course.
Yeah, they're balling right now, aren't they?
Oh my God.
They're unreal.
I don't know if they were welcoming Brian Kelly to the SEC personally, but they went for 2 to make it an even 50 burger. Like, what the hell is that about? Like,
hey, welcome to it, baby.
I know.
Holy cow.
And they jumped.
That's a good team.
They jumped on us last year, and just want to say, it was New Year's Eve again. And I just remember my daughter, she was 8 at the time. She's 9 now. She came, like, she had these party beads. She thought I looked so sad, so she put these party beads around my neck, and like, that's the way I've been spending the last 8 years watching Michigan football and big games. Is just like, finding myself in the love of my children. I'm getting on the floor and playing games with them because they're down by 21 against Ohio State, and those days are over. I'm still father of the year though, but I'm jacked for these games. I really, really am.
Okay. Well, perfect. And then I just got to close out with a little bit of Iowa history, right? Because we have the Iowa thing going on.
Yeah.
So Michigan owns the rivalry 43-15-4 overall. So pretty significant.
We're getting closer.
Yeah. So I just got to toss in, though, my senior year, we won up in Ann Arbor. So just a little shout out to the 1981 squad there. And then your senior year, I've got down Michigan losing to Iowa in that year. Do you recall that?
My last football season was 89. I think we won that one. I graduated in the calendar year 90, but 89 was the last year that I was there. And I was the on the football beat for the Michigan Daily, the greatest student publication in the United States, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, and free shout out. I like it.
It was Bo Schembechler's final season.
Right.
And they were undefeated after losing to Notre Dame. That was the year that Rocket ran one way and then ran it back the other way in his 2 kickoffs. And that made Michigan 0-1. And they won the rest of the season up until the Rose Bowl loss to USC. And I covered that game. And I remember covering that game and thinking to myself, I had to look at the flip chart, the card that you have when you're covering a game with everybody's number and name. And I remember looking down halfway through to see if USC had 2 55s on the field, because number 55 was everywhere. Like, I've never seen a guy go sideline to sideline, and it was Junior Seau.
Yeah.
And Michigan and Bo, Bo's final game lost to Junior Seau and USC, even though in his final decision of his Hall of Fame 3 yards in a cloud of dust career, Bo called for a fake punt. It was successful, but called back due to holding, and you tack on another 15 yards because Bo was so angry he threw his headset down and it nearly carried him ass over tea kettle on the ground, and they flagged him for 15 more yards there. So that said, my first year was 86, and I think Chuck Long got us. I think Chuck Long may have got us that year. And Jim Harbaugh was my first Michigan quarterback when I went to school there.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
History. So, but Iowa's a nasty team that always has teeth out for the Wolverines. That I know for sure.
Especially
in Kinnick Stadium at night is a tough place to play.
Did you get us, George, a couple times? Did you get us?
I ended up I was 2-1 against Michigan in my career. We lost. I don't really count my redshirt freshman year because I didn't travel. I was probably drinking heavily on a Saturday at home while they were playing in Ann Arbor. But then we won 2013. It was like negative 28 degrees. Hawks came back and won. And then 2016, my senior year, CJ Beathard led us on a game-winning drive to win the game.
What's with his beard, man? I saw his beard the other day. Did you see that? What the hell was that?
Yeah, we FaceTime every week or so, and just seeing him, it's like, I was like, you got to dye it white.
His helmet almost didn't fit. We were watching.
He's got to dye it white. He's got to dye it white and be Santa.
Right. We watch all the games at once at NFL Network, and, Trevor Lawrence goes out, and we're all wondering, like, who's his backup? And we didn't recognize him. They said, like, we had to wait for his name to come up on the screen. We're like, who the hell is this guy from, like, the Cough Drop Brothers, Like, what the hell? And
ZZ Top, baby. ZZ Top.
Yeah, ZZ Top. And, like, he couldn't, like, he had to, like, jam the thing in to get his chin strap on.
He's hilarious. He won't cut it either.
Cut a notch.
No, he won't. He won't even trim it. That's what it's going to look like. And I can't wait to see him, like midway through February, just to see that. It's going to be just massive. He won't cut it. It's amazing.
I saw it. We were like, what the hell?
It's super gingery too.
All right. Hey, driving you on. All right. So Rich, we are really excited. In this show, we are opening up the new George Kittle Power Rankings. Section, which is based on some of your power rankings. So in this setting, George has got some power rankings that he's going to drop on you, and we want to get your intake on this. So go ahead. George.
So Rich, you inspired me with your top birthday parties that you would go to of quarterbacks. I thought that was absolutely hilarious. I think I texted, but I think you should do every position in the NFL, just like top 5. I think people would bring some knowledge to other players. But I got one for you. Okay. I want your top 3 sports broadcasters' birthday parties that you would attend, or podcast hosts.
Okay.
So, for example, like I'll give you 1 and 2. I'd have you and Pat McAfee. would be
Okay.
2 birthday parties I would really enjoy going to.
I think Pat's would be more green, if you get my drift.
Yeah, there's a lot going on with him.
And he's very rich, a lot of money. He's the one passing the bags out, of cash. That's what I mean. Okay, I'm honored to be in your top. So you want who's your third?
I think my number 3. Let's see. I think I'd go to Joe Buck.
Really?
I like Joe Buck. I've always been a fan of Joe Buck. He's great. And I'm a huge fan. His wife has interviewed me multiple times, and she's fantastic too.
Michelle, do you know I introduced them, right?
What? Oh, actually, she told me that like 3 years ago. She did tell me that.
Michelle worked for NFL Network, and I got this is a great story. So I'll tell. I've told it before. So Michelle worked for NFL Network, and Joe Buck reached out to me to say, can I get her number? What do you think? Or something along those lines. And I remember texting her saying, hey, an A-list broadcaster has asked for your number because he would like to meet you. And, and I don't want to give it out without your permission. And
nice guy.
And I said, do you want to guess who it is? And she went through like a handful of ones. She goes, is it Costas? And I'm like, well, Bob's married, but no. And we kept going down and down. And her last one was, I think it was something along the lines of like, not Joe Buck, like literally not Joe Buck.
Joe Buck.
Right? And clearly it was. And, now they are happily married to 2 beautiful twin boys. And, living, the dream where they get to work together on Monday nights. I think, and I have been a Joe Buck parties. They are fun. They're well catered, I might say, although it was in his restaurant that I don't think he has anymore in St. Louis, Jay Buck's. But, Dan Patrick's going to be very upset that he got snubbed here.
That is true. I haven't talked to Dan in a while, though. It's been a while.
On him. It's on him. It's on him.
Yeah. If I did a top 5, I'd say Dan Patrick's in there, but my number 5 would be Greg Olsen because he's newly a part of the family now. And I would love to go to a tight end's birthday party.
And how great was that on National Tight Ends Day, it's you and Kelsey on the field and he's in the booth. I mean,
so Rich, ask me this. Is it like, did National Tight Ends Day become a thing where the NFL scheduled Niners versus Chiefs with Greg Olsen in the booth?
I don't know about Greg Olsen being in the booth. They can't control that. That's obviously a Fox thing, but you playing on the same field as Kelsey on that day, 1,000,000% is controllable.
Right?
And I would think so. And they've been all over that. Like when I do remember, I'd never heard of it before. And I was hosting a show called, now it's blanking on Epics. The show was, I forget. Wow. I keep talking too much. So I've now forgotten the name. So they'll be so upset with me that it's just blanked out of my head. But
we'll cut this. Don't worry.
We'll add it in later.
The correspondent that we had for the show, where it was Brett Favre. We sent Favre out to you, right? And you you talked about National Tight Ends Day.
I do.
And that was the first time I'd ever heard of National Tight Ends Day. It was about 5-6 years ago, right? Or something along those.
That was he came to visit. The show was in 2019. 2018 was the start of it. Second game of the year, Jimmy G, Garrett Selleck, and me somehow coined it. And then the NFL came to me. They came to me in the offseason, like during OTAs in April 2019. They're like, hey, we're going to run with this. What do you think? And I was like, sounds great. What do you need me to do?
It was called NFL The Grind. Now that
that's exactly what it was.
Talking over and over again, like you literally caught me after talking for 3 hours. My brain can kind of fart like that. But yeah. And I remember I'd never heard of it. And I'm like, National Tight Ends Day. And then NFL Network started talking about it, and CBS and Fox, like the broadcast partners all got in on it. So I think for sure it's on purpose that you and Kelsey. And by the way, while we're on the subject matter of power rankings, we did talk about it on the show about doing it just for tight ends. After you made the suggestion, I mentioned how you saw the power rankings that we had about quarterback birthday parties I'd most like to attend because the whole Russell Wilson thing blew up.
That was funny.
And so I mentioned, so we discussed it, like clearly I can't decide between you and Kelsey, right? Like I can't,
Sure.
I can't, it's like one of those choices I cannot be forced to make. It's like, which one of your kids do you love the most? Come on. So, so we did point out that, and you would know this, you and Kelsey are born just days apart. And so you can have a joint birthday party, like meet right in the middle where you observe your birthdays together. Now that everybody else has to follow in line after that.
That would be a thing.
We'll do it in Vegas. How about that?
And I got to be at least +6. I know the rest of the Rich Eisen show crew would want to be in on that.
You guys can cover it.
All right. Hey, George, we got to pull him back. We need his power rankings. Who's his three?
So my power rankings. Yeah, by the way, that's my fault for going off on a
tangent. That's okay.
So
that was great.
Parties of broadcasters I'd want to attend. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Or anchors, like just people that are speaking about sports.
Okay. So 5. You want top 5?
Yeah, do 5. Let's do 5. Right. I want 5.
Okay, 5. Just off the top of my head, 5. I'd have to start with Gus Johnson. I'd want to hang with Gus 1,000,000%. Great. You know, the first time I met Gus was like 15, 20 years ago. He showed up in the hotel bar that we were all in because it was a Thursday night football game. I think the Knicks had just played in town. He was calling that game, and he showed up in the hotel bar with sunglasses on. It was like 12:30 at night. Friggin' amazing. I would love to just to go through his Rolodex. I'd go with Gus Johnson.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Another broadcaster. Obviously McAfee's got to be on that list as well.
Got to be.
I'll put him at 2. In between, another broadcaster I'd want to go to their birthday party. Al Michaels. Because Al Michaels will serve great wine, incredible steak, no vegetables. Next time you ever speak to Al, ask him about how many green vegetables he's had in his life, George. If you paths on your, I don't think you have another Thursday night game. I don't think you see him for Amazon.
We play Thursday night next week.
Oh, that's right. You're against Seattle. Go up to Al on the field. Rich Eisen told me to ask you, when's the last time you had a green vegetable? And he will proudly tell you he's never had one his entire life.
I'm going to sneak one into a smoothie.
Ever. Smoothie. No, there's no smoothies for him. There's nothing. There's nothing. It's right. His steak. He probably wants some rib. Like, you should ask him his power rankings in steak. He will do it off the top of his head as well.
I love that.
Guy's dynamite, and he knows everybody. They know him. Like, literally, you have no idea who would show up at his party. It could be anybody because everybody knows Al, and Al knows everybody. I would take him in a heartbeat too. Who else would I take here? Just thinking about it. Oh God, number 3 would be Michael Irvin. I'll take him, my colleague, my buddy.
That's a good pick. He'd probably have a lot of fun
because Stephen A is going to show up there too.
Entertaining.
Okay, and Stephen A's Rolodex would be wide open, so it'd kind of be an Irv Stephen A first take party. I do that, and then number 1, because he would disown me. And this show would never exist without him. I'll go Dan Patrick. Also because, the bar will be open. Just the only guess would be is when he would leave his own party without telling anybody. He's the king of that Irish.
Oh, Irish goodbye.
Oh, yes, he is. He is. And you are too?
In college.
Both of these two are. Both
are
of these two are. They just disappear.
I just disappear.
Emma, it's a Kittle thing? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Bruce passed it down. Yeah. All of a sudden they're both just gone. And
come on.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
I'm the exact way. I'm Jewish. I got to say goodbye to everybody, and it takes 10 minutes for each person.
I usually if I'm at a party with my friends, I'll say goodbye to them. But if I'm at a bar, I'm just like, I'm gonna go 2 blocks down and just disappear for a little bit.
It makes sense. I get it.
It's not about not saying goodbye. It's that I just get distracted. And there's more interesting things I want to do, and then next thing I know, the party's over.
Dan was at my wedding. Dan was at my wedding, and I was told by many of my friends and other colleagues who were there, including Chris Fowler, I think was at the bar as well, that the bartender in the hors d'oeuvres portion of the ceremony on the party afterwards was not serving drinks fast enough for Dan, who then got behind the bar and poured Jägermeister shots for himself and everyone else. I want
to go to Dan's party.
So I think, Dan, DP, I'll go with him number 1. Because
Rich, if you ever need a +1, call me.
Oh yeah,
I'll make it work.
Okay,
yeah.
Unless
I'm a good +1.
Okay, I bet you are, George. I bet you are. Yeah, absolutely. My parties aren't bad either. My 50th was pretty good. I can hang in the power rankings. I wonder what McAfee's really would be like. Would we have to go to Indianapolis for that though? Would we have to go to Indy for him?
As long as it's I would go in the summer. I'm not touching the Midwest I'm not touching the Midwest in winter anymore, man. I'm not doing it.
Just another reason why you were so kind to show up for my run that many Februarys ago. So I appreciate that.
Just for you, man.
Okay, Rich. We do want to get to a couple other things though. So thank you for the power rankings. So
look at you reining us back in.
Yeah,
you keep bringing us back in.
He knows what he's doing.
I want to because Rich, our show's a little bit. I mean, you're a little off scripts for us, but you're a person that. So I want to do a little of your history, and you already touched on it.
Yeah.
Here's a couple things I'd like to learn from you. Is when you were, you got into college, you were kind of in the journalism ranks, and then you got your MA, and then I've got some of the stuff that you did. Staten Island Advance, the Chicago Tribune. You did Redding, California, KRCR TV, and all that kind of stuff. So you did some other stuff, and then you got into ESPN, eventually with NFL Network. But in the beginning, I guess I'm just curious, kind of, did you have your vision? Like, what did you see in that? I'm kind of curious about how you saw your life unfolding and all those kind of things. And then what were some of the obstacles and lessons you learned in overcoming some of those obstacles? And the last thing that we always try to get to, and I've only got 15 minutes left with you, so I'm just letting you go wherever you want, is just, mindset and stuff. So our background, we're yogis, mindfulness, breath work, meditation, vision and goals and all that kind of stuff. So how elaborate, what are some daily practices for you given your unbelievable schedule, and how do you kind of keep your mind right? And, I just want to tie it into, you said the Michigan QB with the little smiley face on his hand, and something we've worked with George a lot on is just making sure it's a football game, make sure you're having fun, but are you still having fun? How do you keep your mind right when you're juggling all that stuff? So that's kind of the world I'd love to cover, but we don't have very much time. So I'm just going to let you run with it.
I got you. This is my job, man. You give me the time, I'll fill it. I got you.
All right.
I got you. So I'll take it one at a time. I'm from New York City, Staten Island, born in Brooklyn, raised in Staten Island. So when I grew up, I realized early on, couldn't hit the curve, couldn't make the jump shot, couldn't do a damn thing, well enough that I could live out a dream of being involved in sports professionally. So I knew I had to talk about it. And so I loved sportscasting, and my idols were Marv Albert, who was doing the nightly NBC local sportscast, as well as calling Knicks and Rangers. Marv Albert, along with Howard Cosell. I loved him. So those were the two main guys that I think most people would know. And I loved doing it. And then I got to Michigan, I did stand-up comedy there. And I thought about trying stand-up for a while, and I loved doing it. It was incredible, but it was easily the toughest thing I've ever had to do. And I knew I wasn't kind of cut out for the grind. So I try to combine the two of sportscasting and comedy. And that's when I'm like, okay, I see on SportsCenter what they're doing. And that's the thing I really want to do. While maybe living out the dream of one day being a late night talk show host where I can combine everything together. So putting it all together, I did write for the student newspaper, and then I did go back to Staten Island after I was done to write for my hometown newspaper. And I realized I wasn't really cut out for it, that either. The news end of the business, the hard news. Like I remember I was on the police beat as a backup police reporter, and they gave me this big walkie-talkie and would blurt out all these codes. And I always thought to myself, I'm missing some triple homicide. And it was really just like, hey, there's a cat in the tree somewhere. And I got too caught up in it. And I remember one day being on the police beat and an ambulance zooms by, and I followed it. And I thought to myself, there's nothing that I'm doing right now that I'd want to do. I'm literally an ambulance chaser. I'm chasing an ambulance. And that's when I decided to say, all right, I want to be a sportscaster. How do I go about it? So I went back to school at Northwestern and went through that program. And, I wound up having a tape, and I wound up having a resume, and I wound up having what you need to try and get a job. And I road tripped. What that means is you take your tape and you send it to a bunch of news stations that has a job open or might not have a job open, but at least you send a tape there and you meet the news director. So when that person does have a job open, they don't need to advertise for it. They already know you exist and will hire you. So I road tripped in the upstate New York area. stopped off at stations that I'd already sent my tapes to and knocked on news directors' doors. And it was really a lot of doors slammed in my face. One door was literally slammed in my face because I found the executive producer of a local 24/7 sort of station that they were forming in the Albany area. And I found that executive producer in his own house. They had, the letter of saying we got your tape had an address on it. This is before Waze. This is before GPS. I literally stopped at a gas station to ask for directions and wound up being at this person's house. And he said he didn't have time for walk-ins and slammed the door in my face. And there I am in my suit, and they're in his front hallway. It was really difficult. I got a lot of no's. At the same time, one of my friends from Northwestern road tripped her upstate area in Northern California and called me up and said, there's a job open here at my station in Reading. That Reading's about 5 hours north of where you're sitting right now, George. And I got the job there. And I was the local sportscaster there for a year and a half. And it was like, if you ever saw the TV show Northern Exposure, it was like me, like I was the New York Jewish guy in the forest, in the mountains. I literally did a story on panning for gold and fly fishing and rodeo. And I fashioned my on-air reporting and persona and covered high school sports the way that I thought SportsCenter would cover it. So I had catchphrases and I had fun with the names of school names. And, and one day I just sent a tape to a headhunter, or three of them actually. And ESPN saw it and hired me from there. Like I literally got struck by lightning. Like professional lightning. I won a lottery ticket. They saw it, they found me. And at age 26, 3 years after chasing that ambulance, I was in ESPN and doing sports centers with Dan Patrick, Keith Olbermann, walking around. There's Robin Roberts, there's Craig Kilborn, just name the golden age of ESPN. And it was really something. And a lesson I learned there, and I think you'll appreciate this, George, being the professional athlete that you are, is that I remember my first assignment was at the Boston Garden. They finally put me on the road. I was asking them because all I was doing was sports centers, and everything I was doing was a gag on sports center. I wanted to entertain probably more than I wanted to inform. And Keith Olbermann was kind of warning me that, you need to give the information first and the entertainment can come from around it, and I didn't really learn that. Again, I'm a stand-up comic by trade, how I'm coming in there. So I would make a gag out of everything. And so I remember my first assignment was at Boston Garden for the NBA 2 night on ESPN2 was the name of the show. And they sent me, and it was the Celtics welcoming in the Seattle Supersonics, who were that 60-win team with Gary Payton and everyone else. And they were kind of a surly bunch. And so here comes that SportsCenter kid in who doesn't really cover basketball and ask questions. And I remember walking into the locker room, and it was kind of like the needle ripped off the record. They kind of turned their heads and saw me, and there were no smiles. There was no nothing. They kind of stared a hole through me. And I thought to myself, oh shit, like, did I say anything about these guys? Did I make fun of them? Did I rip them? Did I do anything on the air? And it kind of like gave me a life's lesson that I still take to heart today, that, I should never say anything on camera or in a microphone that I wouldn't say to the athlete's face. Like I should never do that. And that I should always be able to walk in and own whatever I've said and treat people with respect. And, you can criticize, but you could do it from a position of understanding or a position of having a well-formed opinion, not making fun for the sake of it. And it kind of blew me away, and it kind of did kind of snap me into a position of, yeah, you can have your fun, but play it straight first and everything else can come from it.
Rich, let me ask you real quick, when you were talking about, did you intentionally develop, do you have an onstage persona that's different? I mean,
no, it's interesting you asked that, because I also learned that too when I first got to ESPN. This was right before ESPN News, which no longer exists. was placed in existence. So anybody that got hired after me, I think Mike Greenberg might have been the first hire after me, got to had to go and work on ESPN News before they graduated, if you will, to Sports Center. I went straight into Sports Center, and so I had to have a 1 month observation period where I would go to the meetings, and then I would sit in the control room and I would see how it was done before they put me on the air. I got there on Valentine's Day, actually, in 1996, and my first Sports Center was March Madness. So it was a good month of me walking through it. And I remember, and again, there's another thing I'll never forget. Chris Berman only did a handful of Sports Centers back in the day. And one of my observation weeks was a week he was doing it. And I'm sitting in the meeting room. Everybody, the staff is there, and Chris comes in last. And the guy who walked in the room and opened his mouth and talked to everybody in the meeting room is the same exact guy I saw on television. And virtually every person I've met who's been successful in the broadcasting business is the same person. Stuart, same person. Dan, Keith, Kilborn, literally, Linda Cohn, name it. The same person that I met was the same person I saw on television. That's another thing. So I don't really have a persona at all, but I do have a filter here that's constantly working to make sure that what comes out here is something I can stand behind, And it's a nonstop game on live television or radio that you're playing between here and obviously here and then the gut. It's kind of like a straight line. Like it really is something that you have to take into stock and put out there.
Right. Perfect.
It's a great story about Berman. Don't worry, we'll go on a little bit longer here. It's a great story about Berman if you have the time.
Oh, we got plenty of time.
We've got the time.
I
just have a Zoom in about 20 minutes about, by the way, Run Rich Run. We're starting it for next year's run.
Okay.
At the Rose Bowl, by the way, if you're in town in April. So
we want to be, and we want to get to that, the Run Rich Run stuff too.
No worries. So here's a quick Berman story, and then I'll get to the mindfulness part, and then you can finish up how you wish. So I got to ESPN, and I noticed that there are these banners hung on the walls there. They're these prefabricated cubicle walls that would create, people's workspaces, but it would create like this hallway you would walk through between, the studio and this door and that door. So I remember these banners that say ESPN Worldwide Leader in Sports. They're the same ones that they hang over the sides of a stadium wall for any event that they're covering. So you knew which broadcast network was there. And so they would hang these banners, people would hang these banners and ask on-air people to sign them for charity. And there would be this note saying, please sign for such and such charity, thank you. And it would be like silent auction items of charity events and whatnot. And I'm 26, I'm coming from Redding, California. I'm like, my head's on a swivel. I'm totally wondering what the hell's happened to me. My dream has come true. And I thought to myself, the last thing I want to do is sign one of these banners too soon. And one of my colleagues is looking at me sideways like, yeah, you've only done a few of these. You're not ready yet. Like it's sort of like, a rookie, when can you stop carrying people's bags, right, George? When
earn your stripes.
Exactly. I didn't want to offend anybody, So, about a month in, I'm doing a Sports Center on a Sunday after a Baseball Tonight that Berman is hosting, and Berman's in the makeup chair, before me. I go into the makeup room and Berman's in the chair, and I'd not said a word to him really. And I said to him, hey, Chris, I'm the new Sports Center guy here. He goes, yeah, I've seen you do a few of these. And I'm like, I got a question. You're like the perfect person to ask. And I explained to him my problem, I'm like, who better to ask than Chris Berman? So I said to him, I'm like, how many Sports Centers do I have to do before I'm fine to sign these banners? And he goes, how many have you done? At least one? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, fuck it, sign them all. And I walk out, and I grab the Sharpie and I go right down the line, and I never thought about it again.
Good for that.
And that's
great.
why I love that guy, man. In many different ways, I love that guy.
That's good stuff there.
Yeah,
Just
and
welcome-
you must see him all the
welcome to
time. He's Mr. 49er. I mean, like you must hear from Chris all the time, George. You know,
I would love to hear from him more. Actually, I'm a huge fan.
Yeah.
So yeah, please reach out.
we'll hear from him. All right, and so in
Okay.
terms of mindfulness, I wish I don't do enough of it. You know, I honestly don't. I don't meditate because my mind is constantly churning. Like my wife and I, we've got 3 kids, 14, 11, and 9. I mean, so it's a nonstop, treadmill that we're on. It doesn't stop. And we do say to each other sometimes, we should meditate in the morning. We should take a minute and pause, and we should do that. And then every time I do it, I'll be honest, like I'm thinking, like, what am I going to talk about on this show? What do I have to do? And I can't turn it off. And I wish that I could, because I also understand, like, whenever I do take in a breath, like I do feel better, like it does, like it, like I do realize, like when I'm sleeping and when I am at restfulness, I'm not breathing deeply enough. It's all shallow, all of it. And I notice it and I know it, but I don't do anything about it, to be honest.
Well, just to plug, I do a Mindful Monday with a guided meditation for about 10 minutes of breathing.
Okay.
Every Monday, just an easy way to get in if you want to off the Hidden Pearls podcast site. So, but there's a bunch of other resources.
I'll send it to you on Mondays, Rich.
Sounds good.
It's a good listen. It's a good listen.
Okay. And honestly, if it's 10 minutes and 10 minutes makes the difference, I should be able to find it. I'm happy to do that. I really am.
And there's other stuff too. So you don't have to do my stuff, but it's whichever. And Emma's got a bunch of stuff too, but
okay.
All right. Well, then what do you do? What do you do to keep your balance then? So, cause you got a million balls in the air and you're circulating all that stuff. How do you stay Rich Eisen? How do you stay grounded and centered?
It's a good question. I mean, I just live life, I mean, I got kids. I really do. I play poker once a week with a group of guys that I've met 20 years ago here in LA. I'm playing more pickleball lately as a man of fitness.
It's so fun.
I do love it.
Yeah.
It's a great workout. It does clear my head a little bit. And then just other than that, I'm just like football season. If you ask me this question in May, June, July, I'd give you a totally different story. But right now, I mean, I'm doing this show every day, which is great. The journey that I've been on with this program, I'm so happy that 8 years in, we have survived change in partnership twice. This is my 3rd different partner now. One change in partnership came out of the blue right before COVID. We survived it. I've got a great group of people that we've banded together. We're a small engine every day that, and now when we went from DirecTV, eventually to Peacock, now to the Roku channel, in between DirecTV and Peacock was COVID, and I had no partner, and I went on YouTube only, and I wound up taking ownership of the show. So now I'm in management for this program. I never thought I would be viewed as management by a soul on the planet. I didn't go to school for it. But I'm learning on the fly, and it's been a lot of challenging moments for me to try and figure that out. But it is great. And then the NFL Network turns 20 next year. And so I'm constantly doing. So I do this show Monday through Friday, and then Saturday's the meeting for Sunday, and then just repeat. It's just like, being in the NFL. I mean, this is what it just repeat. And I take it one day at a time, one show at a time. It's all different cliches that I hear. But it's the truth.
It's the truth.
I'm working now. I'm in that mode, and my wife is in the business as well, and she sits in this chair and fills in for me when I'm not here, and so she did sidelines for many years. She loved going to Iowa, by the way, George. She loved going to Iowa. Although her problem with Iowa was the sidelines, like behind the benches, you can't get.
There's
through. Nothing. Like it was really difficult to go from one side to the other.
You can reach out and touch the players if you're sitting in the front row.
Right. So it's like spatially, it wasn't easy for her to work sidelines for games in Iowa. but she loved Ferentz and she just loved the atmosphere. And she speaks very highly of when she did games at Iowa. But at any rate, so it's a great thing that I'm married to somebody who knows the world. Yeah. I mean, she's living the same world. So that's basically it. And I love seeing my kids when I can, but they have no idea, that dad woke up at 4 a.m, or, and I try not to tell them, but that's the world I live in.
Yeah. All right.
You found out you found your routine and you're hitting the cycle right now and you're rolling.
I'm trying.
Yeah. I mean, it's just NFL season. It's it. You do it. You do what you do. You manage as best you can. But then once you hit your groove and you hit that rhythm, you're just going. And I'm so fortunate, again, I mean, you saw it in Mexico City. I saw it in Germany. This sport is at the zenith of its popularity, or just when you think it's reached its height, there's a new height. And the interest in this sport is through the roof. It's through the roof. And, awesome. and I'll be honest, your team too, George, I could see, through my YouTube numbers, what people search for, or what people are interested in. Top 5 search items every football season. 49ers is either 1, 2, or 3. And I kid you not. It's the truth. You see it in person, and just, Packers and Steelers, you could name the teams that kind of make a difference in terms of a difference between a level of interest here and a level of interest here. I'm just lucky. I'm lucky to be, involved, and I never forget it, ever.
All right, Rich, I know you got to go here in a sec, so let me close you out just a little bit. And I don't want to, it's been great. Thank you so much for sharing. So I guess the one thing I want to give you a chance to talk about the Run Rich Run and St. Jude's, because that's a big deal. And then and this might just be a Wikipedia thing, so if it's not, but rumor had it that you used to do a hell of an impersonation of Skip Carey.
I did.
Who's the son of Harry?
Center days. Sports Center days, yeah.
So maybe you can close us out with that. But I guess the way we like to close, and I'll let you kind of finish it out given your time, is, Hidden Pearls is about finding the good in people and organizations that are out there in the world doing some good. And we always like to kind of talk a little bit about things that give us hope at this stage. And I know we're in the sports world and there's a lot of hope and all that, but there's obviously sports are within the context of humanity.
Yes.
And so as you're kind of sitting there thinking about things, you're a very insightful guy and do a lot of different things, and you meet a lot of different people. So what are some of the things you're seeing in the world that, have you had Hidden Pearls revelation where you've seen some good that has given you some hope? And then give us a little spin on St. Jude's. And then we always make a donation every year or each week to our podcast guests. So I'm guessing you want it there, but you can name any.
A million percent. Yeah. Because look, just like anything that's been successful in broadcasting or television, born out of sheer boredom, waiting around to do something. That's what my run was born out of. In 2005 or 6 at the Combine, Terrell Davis and I are sitting in the mezzanine section of the old RCA Dome. It's one of those places where it was so quiet you heard the buzzing of the lights behind you. We were waiting to do NFL Total Access that night. The Combine had been done for the day. And I looked at Terrell Davis during a break, and I said to him, "How fast do you think I can run the 40? And I'm sitting there in my suit, tie, lace-up dress shoes. And he goes, "What do you mean, right now?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he laughed at me. I cursed at him, and I went down on the field, and I'm like, "Watch me." And I ran it. And I had no idea that the crew that was on a break had somebody in the truck hit a record button, and camera operator on the field recorded it. And they surprised me with it on Total Access that night. And I ran it in 6.77 seconds. Terrible. Dreadful. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Speed kills, baby.
That's it. So we showed it, laugh, ha, ha, ha. Next day, Mike Holmgren of the Seattle Seahawks at the time comes on the air and he goes, "Did I see you run a 40 on live television?" I'm like, "Yeah." So immediately they popped it up and showed it, laugh, ha, ha, ha. And then one guest after another just made fun of me. And so next year I show up at the Combine. First person I see on the field of the RCA Dome is Holmgren. He's like, "You're going to run it again?" I'm like, "No." He goes, "Why not? You got to beat your time." And I'm like, he's not wrong. And he just said to me, "Just don't hurt yourself."
Right.
So I went ahead and did it again. And they recorded it again and they showed it again. And it kept going again and over and over and over. And just when, it kind of had run its course, no pun intended, the network created the technology to take somebody's run and overlay it over another. So you can watch how one person's slow they run and how much faster the other person is. and it created a real slapstick comedy moment where I'm barely out of my stance and RG3 is off the screen. Or I'm running and here comes remember Terrence Cody, Mount Cody, DJ Raji, who of the Packers, like watching these big dudes run through me was like laugh out loud hilarious. And Dion was on the broadcast and he made it fun and funny. And so it kind of gave a new life to the run. And then there was a moment in time which made a big difference. Sarah Swanson is the name of a member of the NFL Network front office she called me one time and she's like, how would you like to add a charitable component to it? And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, well, we can have a call to action. People can run at their workplace and upload a video. And when they upload the video, you donate. I'm like, sure. And she goes, well, let's choose one of the many NFL charities and you could choose which one. And I saw St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, and that's a no-brainer because we all know, anybody who's a parent knows that the nightmare phone call you get from a doctor, that pain in your daughter's leg, that issue they suddenly have trouble with in your son. Well, that's not only cancer, but it's a rare form of it. We think it's inoperable. And then somebody from St. Jude raises their hand and say, come here, we'll figure it out. And St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is all donation based. By that, I mean, people who go there do not see a bill for any of the care or their lodging or food, because the cancer and the, wellness process is so significant. People have to move to Tennessee. They got to move. And so, leaving a job, leaving a home, having to pay for a mortgage while you move your kid and you move your life. It's a nightmare. What a nightmare scenario. But the beautiful thing about St. Jude is the rate of recovery and how it keeps getting better. And so the fact that I can do that and have folks like you, George, and the rest of the family I see on the screen here be part of it. When you were part of it with Jerry Rice and, you came and you handed out the big check, and what a great funny line you had that it was, your first big check. And we all know, the Yorks have certainly made bigger checks for you. So it's great. And now it has sort of a different life of its own. The NFL Legends community the last few years, because of COVID, we moved the run to Los Angeles because we didn't have a combine one year. We kept it going. And last year, 2 years ago, we did the run in SoFi. Last year, we did it at the Rose Bowl. We're going to do it again. And now what we have is the Legends community run with me to help raise awareness. And instead of doing it at the combine, we're airing it during the NFL draft, where we have a huge audience as well. The network is pitched in. NFL partners have pitched in. And so it's amazing. It is amazing. And I credit also my wife, who's always telling me I got to use my platform for something other than just talking. So it's a beautiful thing. And I thank you for allowing me to bring it up. stjude.org for donations.
Yeah. So in the show notes, we'll have all the links for that. And if there's any special you could email that to me, Rich, and we'll make sure.
Oh, good. That's it. stjude.org. Just go there and hit them up.
All right. So we'll make our donation there as we get going.
Yeah.
So then how about
it's also the logo of the show. It's like a whole different.
Oh, yeah.
Although I got to tell you, this leg right here, when the original silhouette, because it was exactly like my run, it was more out. Because they did kindly enough, they moved it in to make it more upright.
Like an athlete.
Correct.
Like an athlete.
Right.
Look
like
at you.
I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
hey, Rich, I got two quick questions for you. All right.
Okay.
One, did you just see Baker Mayfield sign with the Rams?
Did he really?
Yep. I just broke the news to Rich Eisen. Let's go.
Bam.
No kidding.
Nice.
Boom. I just got a notification about
because
it.
they went through. Did they claim him or did he sign?
It says they say it expects to sign and potentially play play Thursday night versus the Raiders.
Damn.
That's going to be most watched television. I can't wait. And then second, I've always wanted to ask you this. What is your favorite SportsCenter commercial? Like the classic one. You're talking about like the golden age of SportsCenter ESPN.
Okay.
Like, do you have a favorite commercial?
I do. And And towards the end of this story, I'm going to leave the frame for about 20, 30 seconds. I'm going to show you how I'm very fast. Okay. So
Yeah.
the Sports Center commercial that is my favorite one is called Cornerman. That's the name of it because every commercial had a name to it.
Yeah.
It was Lou Duva, the cornerman for Ali and so many famed fighters. He came in and the idea was in the middle of a commercial break, he was going to come out and work on me and sponge me down and everything like that. Right. So that was the idea for the commercial. So now it's time to shoot it. Now, the issue is that when they worked me, over, I couldn't be wearing like one of my suits. They gave me like sort of a suit that you could ruin because they were going to just douse me with water and all sorts of stuff. And also we had to shoot the other parts of it where I was acting like I was before and after the commercial break. We'll be right back and welcome back to Sports Center. They had to shoot that first because that was way back when I had hair and they had to blow dry my hair dry after the take where they totally soaked me. So that was number one. Number two, Lou Duva in the commercial, if you see it, they're bleeping him out. Now, you would think, why do they have to bleep him out? Because you're shooting a commercial. You can edit it in any way, shape, or form where, the words that he's saying didn't need to be bleeped out. Well, the issue is that he was so profane, he could not put more than 5 safe for work words together for them to actually air it.
That's amazing.
So they basically told him, and they told him, say everything that you would normally say to a fighter. And he did, but, with curse words. And why not? I ad-libbed a couple of things, which is, when they said, because I'm like, the teleprompter's moving too fast. I can't keep up, and he slaps me around. Don't be a lollipop. And I'm like, my throat's killing me. And he said, give him some tea. And they gave me a teacup. And I extended my pinky when I drank it. That was a little ad lib that I gave on that one. And so it's my favorite commercial. Also, Stewart was a little jealous. He was pissed. He didn't have a line in it too. So the competitive aspect of Sports Center anchors, despite our, unrequited love for each other, it was pretty cool that I had a spot here. And so he wore this, Lou Duva wore this jacket that said Kid Eisen on the back, this silk jacket that said Kid Eisen on the back. And when he was done with it, I'm like, can I have it? And they gave it, and hold on a second. You can count how fast I am. Hold on.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I'm falling asleep. 21, 22.
Here we go. All right.
23.
All right, here we go. So I have, to this day, it's on the back of any chair that I either have in my office or in the case of the green room. That's it.
It's amazing.
Nice.
It's a little bit warm. It used to be blue. It's now purple.
Yep.
That's awesome.
But there
That's
it is.
a great story. All right. Well,
That's
Rich,
all
right. Well, thank you. Do you want to close us with a Skip Carey impersonation?
Oh, God.
Huh?
You know what? I don't do it anymore. I can't even conjure it up.
Okay.
I ran into him at the World Series one time too. After that, he acted like he didn't know who I was. And I was already told in advance. He knew who I was, didn't like the imitation, but deep down was a little flattered that I was doing it. He pulled one of those moves that you always pull when you're trying to haze somebody in the business. When they come up to you and you act like you don't know them, you pull up their press pass and take a look at their name like that. He did that to me. So I'll pass.
We'll let that go. All right.
Not that I hold any grudges. See, I need more mindfulness. I need to do this stuff.
Well, if you do mindfulness, at least you're mindful of your animosity.
Look at you, George. Way to go, man.
All right.
I'm ready.
Well, Rich, anything you want to add or any other words of wisdom?
No, just thanks for having me on. George, you're one of my favorites. Nice to meet the rest. Obviously, good to see you again, Bruce. And, Emma, you're the best. Nice to meet you.
We'll do everything we can to be part of the run again. So let us know about that.
Hey, it's going to be in April. It's going to be at the Rose Bowl. So I'll reach out to you if you're in LA, or we'll figure out how to get you involved.
We'll figure that out. Okay.
Okay.
Well, thanks for joining us. Rich. We wish you the very best with everything. Thank you.
Got it.
And continue to educate and edify the world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me know when
All
it's
right.
out. I'll hit it with the old retweet.
It'll go out
Thank
on
you,
Thursday.
Rich.
Beautiful.
Yep, thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
Take care.
See you, Rich.
later. Okay, bye.
Bye.
All right, everyone. I am talking for about the first time today, but thank you so much for being on our show. That was so much fun just to learn and absorb. And my first time actually interacting with Rich. So thank you so much, Rich. That was a pleasure. Like always, if you want to get involved with the charity and organizations, we'll have everything linked in our show notes. And you can donate, you can repost. Anytime you guys reshare stuff, you're helping share our message, and it means so much. The other thing that you can do to make sure you don't miss any Hidden Pearls podcast content is to follow us on our social channels. You can subscribe on our YouTube, where you can actually watch the show. George's facial. If you're just a podcast listener, that's great, and I get it. But watching it on YouTube, you can see George actually had a mask on the entire time, the lucha mask, and there's just like a lot of stuff going on. So a lot of visuals that we like to add in, but you can hit subscribe and make sure that you never miss a YouTube episode. Yay. The other thing you can do is subscribe on Apple Podcasts. And if you do that, you can give us a 5-star review. Woohoo. And just leave us a comment. The more that you do, the more the ratings of our show goes up and the more people that we can reach. As always, we support emerging vets and players, and we want to honor that the holidays can be a little difficult sometimes. So if you need a friend, if you need somebody to listen to, we hope that you will take us up on joining our community. Bruce is actually a member and he's on all the meetings. So you can always just get more BK time. You can subscribe to our Mindful Mondays. And the other thing we want to do is just say Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day is on December 7th. So make sure you take a moment, maybe think a veteran, or just hold some space, some compassion for what our country went through during that time, and just make sure to give a little honor. And if you know somebody who served or protected or was just a part of that, maybe ask them to share their story if that's appropriate. But either way, I just want to say thank you so much. We love you guys, and go Niners.